Hi, my name is Princess Meriga. I work with WEN. I'm a voluntary member with WEN. And today we have invited Rupert to join us in this meeting today. And we will all be meeting Rupert and know what he does with the PCC. And hello, Rupert, how are you today?
Good morning. Well, I'm rather cold. It's a bit chilly out there, isn't it?
It is.
But yeah, it's great to be here with WEN. I mean, I admire a lot of the work that Power Network does. So it's absolutely great to be here and chatting to you, Princess.
Thank you so much, Rupert. Thank you for coming. And I hope the team is helping the cause as well.
It is. It's absolutely great.
That's fine. So, Rupert, for the diverse audience listening to us today, will you be able to tell us your role with the PCC?
Okay, well, police and crime commissioners have really two roles. So, the title says police and crime. So, as far as the police are concerned, I set the budget for the police, so I decide how much is going to be spent on police cars this year, how much is going to be spent on uniforms, how many police officers we're going to have, that side of things. But I also set the strategy. So that decides, are we going to put more emphasis on tackling shoplifting, or are we going to put more emphasis on trying to tackle violent crime? We're going to put more emphasis on trying to tackle crime in rural areas. So as far as the police are concerned, I'm quite a high level strategic overview. But I also hold the Chief Constable to account for how he spends taxpayers' money. So, I'm not, in terms of auditing the books, making sure the money is being spent on what it's supposed to be spent on, and so on. Then the other part of the job, which is sort of the anti-crime, that's looking after witnesses to crime, making sure they're okay, caring for victims of crime, but also doing quite a lot of crime prevention. So we fund things like target hardening, which is giving vulnerable elderly people window locks on so that they can make their houses more secure against burglary. We put up new street lighting if there's been some problems with stalking or attacks on people. We'll put up street lighting. So it's a really varied role.
That's a huge role.
Yes.
How are you able to manage all this role?
Well, I've got a deputy whose name is Ronnie Mahal, who works very hard supporting me in doing a lot of work. The work. But I've also got staff. I don't pretend to do all of this. So when it comes to not say checking the police are spending money on what they're supposed to spend, I've got a full-time accountant whose job is to do that. I've also got a team of people who are working in people zones, one of which is Bell Foundry up in Loughborough, and that's helping people, that's trying to support social working groups within the community, and helping people who are rather vulnerable to get out. I've got the staff, some of them are part-time, so I suppose if you include all the part-timers, 20, I think. So, but I make sure they all work hard. And as you say, it's a huge job, so the staff are really helpful.
Oh, that's good to know. I mean, that's really great team. And also, I would like to ask you, how long have you been serving in the PCC?
This is my third year. Yeah. Okay, so I think the first year, to be fair, was really taken up with just learning what I'm supposed to do, and also meeting everybody. So I say I've got a staff of about 20 people, but there's nearly 4,000 work for the police force, officers and support staff. But also we're commissioning services from a whole range of different charities and community groups. And between them, they've probably got about another 1,000 people, either volunteers or paid staff. So I can't get around and meet everybody. I set myself the ambition when I started. I would go and visit every single department, every organisation, and at least get to meet some people doing it. Because I think it's important that I get to know, what we see forensic experts on television, what do they actually do? I've been out on patrol with police in cars, I've been out on patrol with police on foot. Really important someone in my position knows and understands what everybody throughout the organisation actually does.
Oh, that's great. So your foot is on the job.
Yeah.
So you're not just sitting in the office, you're everywhere, making sure to know what each and everyone is doing. That's great.
I think it's absolutely vital. I mean, you can't do your job sitting in an office, it won't work.
That's right. That's right. And also, what do you love most? What do you enjoy most in your job?
Well, all of it's interesting. I think that's the first thing to say. But when it comes to enjoyment, it's getting out and meeting people. Okay, so I'm the elected representative of the people. I get elected in once every 3 or 4 years. But it's really important I stay in touch with what the community likes to do. So one day a week, I almost forget the day job, and I go and meet community groups, I go and meet representatives of the people. So just for instance, this Thursday, I'm going to Market Harbour. I'm going to be meeting the Member of Parliament, I'm meeting 2 of the councillors, I'm meeting 2 community groups. But every time when I do this, I also set aside at least 1 hour for what we term free range time. And that's when I just go into maybe a cafe or a pub and start talking to people, explain who I am, ask their opinion. What do you think of the police? What do you think about the way the police are keeping law and order? Because it's really my job to find out what the public are thinking, and then try and get the police force and various other groups to reflect that and do their job the way that people want it done.
Oh, that's great. That's great to know. And also, I would like to talk about 3 areas of concerns today with you.
Yep.
Because you're the best person to talk to about these
Sure,
areas.
absolutely.
And the first one I would like to talk about, knife crime is on the increase, and young people are fearful. And this is affecting their interaction with the police. Are there any strategy in place in 2024 to overcome this fear?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, rather ironic, really, isn't it? Because just before I came here, the head of the Violence Reduction Network, which is the body that looks after knife crime and tries to drive it down, delivered to me the strategy. So they redo this every year, take account of, like you say, changing circumstances.
Yes.
Because it's not just knife crimes going up, the knife crimes going up in urban areas particularly,
Yes.
and also amongst younger people. So that's been a change over the past 4 or 5 years. So we've got a new policy to deal with it. That's just arrived on my desk. So when I've had a chance to read it, maybe I'll come back and talk.
That would be great.
So what we were doing, I can talk about what we've been doing for the past year.
Yes.
What that's involved is those areas where younger people are particularly either victims of knife crime or are carrying knives. We do a lot of educational work, both through schools and through community groups, to explain to them that carrying a knife is in itself dangerous, because you then become a target for other people with knives, and and some of them are really nasty people. So if you're a school kid, you're age 14 or 15, think, well, if I carry a knife, I'll be safe. No. You might be coming up against somebody who's 23 or 24, who is really nasty and a hardened criminal. Carrying a knife would make you a victim. So we do educational work. We also deploy knife archers in areas where we think knives might be being carried. We do stop and search, of course. And we carry out a whole range, both to discourage people from carrying knives, but also to catch those people who are carrying knives and make sure that, first of all, depending on who they are and what they're doing with it, they might get educated, they might go for an out-of-court disposal, they might end up doing community work. Of course, in really serious cases, they're going to prison.
Yes, that's good to know. And also, I love the strategy you've done the past year. For 2023, and we would like to know the strategy in 2024. I think when you've gone through that, we would like to invite you over again so you can tell us.
Sure.
But talking about stop and search, do you not think that if certain minorities are targeted by the police, and those minorities are constantly stop and search, those are likely the set of people you're going to find crime with, knife crime with?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, the first thing to say is I've got experience in this.
Okay.
Because when I was a young man in South London, I was stopped by the police. I mean, I'm going from memory about 7 or 8 times. So, this has happened to me, so I know what I'm talking about. Of course, the figures flag up that certain ethnic groups and age groups and socio-economic groups tend to get stopped by the police a lot more than others. Okay, so you've highlighted about black people stop more often.
Yeah.
People who work in factories stop more often than people who work on farms. Okay, so there's all sorts of different dynamics going on here. So of course we've looked into this, and what's absolutely crucial from my point of view is that each police officer, first of all, is behaving correctly, they're obeying the law themselves when they stop somebody. But also that they're acting in a completely unbiased way, and it doesn't matter to them who they're talking to, whether they're young, old, black, white, it shouldn't matter, okay? So there are various safeguards we've built into the system. So first of all police officers, when they do stop and search, have got a body cam, they video what happens. And then that's reviewed afterwards by their sergeant, okay? But also I have a team of people who do spot sampling, so they don't look at everything. They'll just say, well, we want to look at that one, and they do it completely at random, so they keep an eye on it. What seems to be driving the anomalies that you're talking about is where knife crime happens. Right? So if you take a lovely rural village like Old Dalby, for instance, there's never been any knife crime there. Okay, so there's no point targeting knife crime in a place like that. There are certain areas in Loughborough, particularly, and the city of Leicester, where knife crime is a lot more prevalent. So, of course, that's where the police do their anti-knife crime operations. And it is also the case, not so much in Loughborough, but certainly in the city, is that there's a correlation between various demographics and where knife crime is happening. So it's not that those people are the ones carrying out the knife crime, because people with knife crime tend to be criminals, drug dealers, and muggers and so on. But they tend to be active in particular parts of the city of Leicester. And those tend to be areas where there are more ethnic minority residents. And so when the police are out, they're doing an anti-knife crime sweep, just the laws of chance seem to indicate they're going to stop more people from ethnic. But another set of figures that we've looked at is what happens once somebody has been stopped. All right? And those figures, there is absolutely no disparity whatsoever. All right? So it doesn't matter if you're black or white or young or whatever. The action the police take once they've stopped you is completely in par with what you would expect from the population dynamics. Okay? So the action police take afterwards, there is no disproportionality at all. It is in the stop and search. But having looked into this, and you know, like I say, I've got a team of people keeping an eye on it, I'm satisfied that it's actually a reflection of where knife crime is taking place and the population there, rather than the police acting incorrectly.
Oh, that's great. I'm so happy you talked about this, because many people have second perception that there's a targeted group of people that the police always stop and search.
No, absolutely not. I mean, you know, because I know this is a concern for the public, and like I said earlier, you know, my job is to reflect the concerns of the public. That's what I'm here for.
Yes.
I've taken it really seriously, and I've trawled through not just what the Leicestershire police are doing. I've also looked at academic research from other places and so on. I'm perfectly happy with what's happening, but because it is a concern to the public, of course, I keep an eye on it all the time, just in case something starts to go wrong. But so far, it hasn't.
Oh, that's really great to know. Thank you for explaining that in detail. And also, there's the question I'm going to ask you about policing and visibility of the policing, the community, and what plan are there in 2024 to improve and develop safer community?
Okay, so there's, if you like, two aspects to this. The safer communities. Wearing my non-police hat, I do a lot of work with trying to make places safer. So if you look at, let's take Queen's Park in Loughborough, we were getting a lot of reports of women feeling unsafe. They were being followed, they were being stalked. And when you did a little bit of research, you found that on one side of the park were all the university buildings, and on the other side of the park was a lot of student accommodation, and it was young female students walking through the park where there was a problem, particularly in the winter months when they'd be leaving the lecture and it was dark. So, analysed the problem, what can we do about it? Well, what we did was we put up new lighting, okay, we put up CCTV camera, but also we marked what was the lit route through the park. So if somebody was coming from the university side, they could follow the sign and they would know that that path right the way through the park was properly lit and they'd be safe to go along. So some of the keeping the community safer is on that side. Some of it is, of course, from the police side. And that comes from constantly monitoring where crimes are taking place and then targeting the resources and the police officers and the PCSOs to the places where crimes are taking place. So this is why sometimes I get emails or phone calls from a councillor or perhaps a chamber of commerce or something saying, we haven't seen we haven't seen any police here for months. Why aren't we seeing any police? Well, the answer is there hasn't been very much crime there. Okay, so we're constantly moving the police around to where crimes are taking place, and a combination of crime prevention, which is very important, and if it were up to me, I'd be spending more resources on that, but also the police responding to where crime is taking place. And you put the two together, and you've got a constantly moving strategy to keep people as safe as we possibly can.
Oh, that's good to know. And also, I would like to talk about recruitment.
Yeah.
So, what is the future of the policing?
Okay.
In terms of recruitment?
So at the moment, we've got more police officers than we've had for 10 years, something like that. The current government has put resources into recruitment of police officers. We've certainly got more than we had 4 or 5 years ago. Of course, whether the central government's going to continue with the funding is out of my hands, so that's up to them. As far as recruitment locally is concerned, we did have a bit of a blip, it must be said, where a lot of police officers came up due for retirement all at the same time. So we've had to recruit about 500 new police officers in the space of the 2 years to fill those gaps. We've made a real effort, and are continuing to make a real effort, to make sure the officers we're recruiting are indicative of the people that they're policing. So the high profile stuff, the thing I'm always asked about, is what about the ethnic minorities? So we're recruiting a bigger percentage of recruits are coming from an ethnic minority now than there's ever been the case before. But also putting effort into trying to recruit people from different backgrounds. So just as a for instance, we've got a rural policing unit which goes and looks after crime against fire, so it's really quite specialist. Okay? Every single police officer in that unit comes from a farming family. Okay, so they understand. So that's, if you like, really targeted niche thing. But also, we want to get police officers who are coming to us from a business background, from a manual labour background, people coming from working class neighbourhoods, people coming from middle class neighbourhoods. So I'm always asked about the ethnics, but also all this other stuff is important as well, because the police force must broadly reflect the community that it's policing.
Thank you for saying that, because that was the next question. But
you've
just covered it in one go. I'm so glad you touched on it, because people will want to know about the ethnic minorities.
That's right. And I think it's particularly important here. I speak to colleagues from places like I don't know, Cornwall. Okay. Well, down in Cornwall, the idea of an ethnic minority is somebody from England. So it's completely different. But of course, Leicester is one of the most diverse cities we've got in the UK. And it's not just that if you like, the local white English population is there a minority, but we've got people from I think over 50 different countries, speaking 40 different languages. This is a really diverse area, and we're making a real effort to try and pull in people from all the different communities. And that's not just so that we reflect the society we're policing, but also, if you've got enough Muslim police officers, then the other police officers are meeting and talking to them every day. And so then, when they're dealing with perhaps a crime affecting a Muslim shopkeeper, they're not talking to somebody they don't understand, because they work and eat their lunch alongside Muslim people. So it's just making everybody in the police force more aware of the cultural sensitivities, of different ways of life, different attitudes. It's just the right thing all around.
Oh no, that's perfect. Okay. And talking about recruitment, you know when it's women empowerment networks. What about the women in policing? So, yes, I would like you to talk about.
All right, I'll tell you. For the first time, this year we recruited more women than men.
Oh, wow.
Right? So there's one thing for you. Also, we have appointed a woman assistant chief constable, right? Which is so right at the top there. So this isn't just sergeants, inspectors, right at the top of the police force. We've now got a woman. And at some point in the next 3 years, we'll be getting a new chief constable. Rob Nixon is a fantastic chief constable. He's been with Leicestershire Police for decades. I mean, he's brilliant. But he's coming up for retirement. And so we'll be looking for a new chief constable. I know around the country there are some really, really good women chief officers, deputy chief constable and assistant chief constable level. And certainly I'll be hoping that at least one or two of them apply for the job when it becomes vacant.
Wow, thank you so much, Rupert. You've covered everything for today. And thank you for coming to WEN to talk with us today. And for the audience listening at home, most of the issue that we have in mind has been clarified. And thank you so much, Rupert. It's nice.
My pleasure. Thank you for accepting. It's been great to meet you.
Thank you.